What's on your mind, brother?
Um, I've got two questions. I'm trying to figure out which one is the most important. uh, Basically, as far as socializing and whatnot, I really don't do a very good job of that. And to tell you a little bit of my history, so you can kind of know where I'm coming from. Um, I grew up with a mother that was very overbearing, hysterical, outright hostile to me as an individual and to my masculinity. She, anything that ever went wrong, she basically blamed on me. And from a very young age, she would consistently tell me that no woman would ever love me, no woman would ever want to be with me, etc.
Oh,
Um, and I went through. My childhood was horrendous. My school years were horrific. I really had. The first 20 years of my life was basically very intense isolation. Some of it self-imposed, just because I was trying to protect myself, and at the very least, not get slapped around or screamed at. I was
that's not
lucky by
self-imposed,
myself.
right?
Well, I would like to believe that I have had some control over it, but I know that's bullshit.
Like if somebody injects me with some virus that's easily contagious to other people and I end up having to stay home, I guess I can say my self-quarantine is self-imposed, but it sure wasn't imposed by my choice, right? It was just somebody injected me with some god-awful virus and I have to stay home.
No.
But it's not self-imposed. That's just a rational reaction to an attack.
Yeah. So,
okay, sorry, go
I
ahead.
really don't have, I really don't have that much experience socially. I'm close to 40 years old now. I've never gone on a date with a woman. The propaganda that was fed to me by my mother and the people around me was so strong that, even now when I try to make friends with people, that little voice in the back of my mind is saying, don't bother them. They don't want to be bothered. They don't like you. They don't, it's this bullshit, constant constant tape recording over and over and over. And I'm close to 40. I'm kind of wondering, is it too late for even me to have any healthy relationships? Because, I'm so socially behind people. I'm taking acting classes now because I'm trying to be an actor. But, everybody else in that class is like in their 20s. And some of them are just like, some of them are okay with me as a person, but some of them are like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He doesn't act like, all the other, 30 plus year olds that I know. And it's just, I'm so socially behind people. A person my age is just light years ahead of me socially. I don't know the first thing about, what to do to attract a woman. A lot of it is just a self-hatred because, I figure, well, if I'm not going to be able to get a woman, then why bother, why bother doing anything else? Why bother, going to the gym? Why bother taking care of myself? Why bother making money? Why bother, basically, why bother doing anything if I'm not allowed to fulfill my biological purpose? If I'm not allowed to have, that which, I see out in town or out on the street or whatever, I see people who are in relationships in all ages, all races, all cultures, people just, in love. And for some reason, I'm not allowed to have that. And it's really, I'm close to 40 years old. I'm kind of thinking, what's the whole fucking point? What's the whole fucking point if I can't have what everybody else is having? Then why not just fucking, crawl under a bridge and die? It's just like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I'm trying to get over that bullshit, but I'm really struggling with the social aspects of it because I'm so far behind.
Well, I mean, first of all, I really want to compliment you on an incredibly courageous series of statements. That's not easy to talk about, and I'm vibrating like a tuning fork with celestial admiration for what it is that you're talking about. That is hard stuff to talk about. So I hugely appreciate, honor, and respect your honesty in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me just dig in a little bit more to the history while first prefacing it with, like, holy shit, what unbelievable, staggering soul abuse you experienced at the hands and words of your mother. I mean, that's like seriously psycho stuff. And I am incredibly sorry that you had this poison force fed into your ears over and over and again, based upon your mother's pathologies. That is absolutely unholy. What an incredibly destructive thing to do to a child. So I'm incredibly, I just really want to be upfront about that. Like, you were treated in an unjust and evil manner. And I'm just so sorry that was part of a core part of your experience of your mother, and of course, to some degree, your template for femininity as a result. So I'm incredibly sorry for that. I mean, dear God. I mean, it always shocks me how this is even possible to occur in society. I mean, you weren't on a desert island with this loony. You know, you're in a society. You're going to school. You've got. Did she have extended family? Where was your dad? For God's sakes.
Well, it was a small town in the Midwest, and I had teachers claiming that I was retarded. I am hearing impaired, but it's almost like I became. It's almost like as a child I was prey for whatever radical feminist psycho bitch that crossed my path. It was like I had teachers behaving like children. They were, just mean and vicious. I had the people around me being mean and vicious. Nobody wanted to talk about the problem. Everybody basically acted like that there was no problem, but that I was the problem. That somehow my existence was the problem.
Yeah, and then I know what occurs. You know, we live in such a predatory environment that children who are smashed up by their primary caregivers, in this case your mom, and usually it's a woman, children who are smashed up by the moms go through life like a gravity well for more people who want to exercise unjust power over the helpless, right? So you know, it's like she just gives, like, she covers you in honey and, you know, pushes you out into a beehive. Yeah. And right, so I mean, this is the way in which the abuse continues. It's like there's this dog whistle that you continually blowing, whether you like it or not, that attracts other abusers. It's like, here's someone who is smashed up. Here's someone who can't fight back. Here's someone who's already broken up. Let's all continue to prey on and pile on them for the rest of their natural born life. And you really get a sense of the vicious underbelly of what we currently call society when you have been abused in the past, and you realize the degree to which this just continues to draw more and more abusers until you, right, whatever, there's things you can do to avoid it, but you really do get to see a view of society that other people don't see. And the people who are raised tall, confident, strong, healthy, and blah, 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 they don't even see the same planet. I mean, it's like they're not even in the same human ecosystem. You know, it's like, it's like the jungle saying to the mouse, it's like the elephant saying to the mouse, I don't know what your problem is with being stepped on. Yeah. You're an elephant. Of course you don't see the problem. Nothing can step on you. The brontosaurus is gone.
And I mean, what's worse is, like, when I was growing up, I thought it was normal. I mean, I literally, when I was about 13 years old, I went over to a friend's house to stay at his house for the night. We were doing, we were enjoying each other's company and stuff. And I mean, I remember laying there on the floor in my sleeping bag at 3 a.m. thinking, what the hell is going on? There's no screaming. There's no fighting. There's no, it was like I was on an alien planet because it was a healthy family environment. And I was just like, what the fuck is this shit? You know, because I
Oh, I guess.
literally had
Yeah.
never experienced anything like that before.
Right.
You know,
Right. And these smashed up victims of abuse, sail unhelped through all the social systems that we
yeah,
have, through the churches, through the schools, through the extended family, through
yeah,
through the Boy Scouts, through the summer camp. I went through
yeah,
all of these. I was in the Scouts. I went to summer
yeah,
camps. I went to 3 different continents. I met
yeah,
thousands of people as a child. Sailed right through,
yeah.
trailing blood and teeth behind me. Smashed
So
up bits of
what
scalp
can I
falling
do
off my head.
now?
Shitting
Yeah,
blood. Just
yeah.
sailed right through
And
all of these
I know you
hospitals
can
with all these
empathize with
symptoms,
me.
and
Um,
nobody lifted a goddamn finger or even noticed or mentioned that anything was wrong. This is the conspiracy of
oh
silence
yeah,
that the
exactly.
abusers operate in, and which enables them to do what they do. And everybody who turns away from a child who exhibits these symptoms is simply enabling the abuser. They're holding the child down
Yeah.
while the abuser does
Mhm.
unspeakable things to them with a pole. So I just wanted to point
So
out that you see a side of
I
society that is really fucking grim.
I I completely know that you can empathize, and I do appreciate that. So now that I'm, close to 40, I mean, how do I break this cycle? Because I mean, it's like, I mean, I literally will not. I mean, I won't go to the gym. I won't do anything to really take care of myself. I just kind of float along because I figure, well, if I'm never going to find love, then why bother with anything else? I mean, just why
Okay,
bother?
well, let me disabuse you of one notion that you repeatedly talked about, which I think is just a
Yeah,
way of torturing yourself, which comes, I think, out of the verbal abuse of your mom, which is you're
yeah,
talking about how everyone else has this love and everybody else has these marriages and these wonderful relationships and so on, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right? Statistically, that's not true, right?
yeah. Well, and I
I
mean,
mean,
it
so
just kind of
so so
resonates.
look,
And
let me tell you something.
logically, I know people. Yeah,
No, let me just. Yeah, so that that's not true, right? You know that
yeah. I
depending
mean,
on how you
logically,
count
I
it,
know that's
40.
true.
Yeah, so 40 to
Yeah,
50% of marriages end in divorce, and it's not
yeah.
like all the rest of them are
But
happy.
then I
One out
then
of
I
10
then
marriages
I
is
should I torture
sexless. They don't
myself.
even have
Yeah,
sex. And that's,
yeah,
I mean, obviously incomprehensible to me. But so it's not like everyone else has this great food and you're starving to death. Right? Everybody else has
yeah,
shit sandwiches. Not everyone. A lot of people have shit sandwiches, and you don't.
yeah,
So in some ways, you could look at what you've done as um, an opportunity to avoid catastrophic mistakes, right? You could be in a lot worse position than you are right now, my friend. You could be in the position of having married some psycho like your mom, have 2 kids, and have her take you to the cleaners, right? And
yeah,
divorces occur,
yeah.
and not just where guys end up having to pay alimony and child support and so on,
Hmm.
but divorces occur where some women, it's not ridiculously uncommon for women to even pull the nuclear option and through the lawyer to accuse the husband of
Yeah.
abuse of the children in
I mean,
godforsaken ways. So
when
these
my
false
mom divorced my
accusations.
dad when I was 7, I mean, she took him to the cleaners. I mean, it was vicious, and it was just like, she'd get a big fat juicy check every month, but then, she'd sit there and go shopping, and then when there was hardly ever any food in the fridge because she was busy, using that money to buy new clothes and stuff that she didn't need or she never wore, and she was incredibly neglectful. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, it's like we were supposed, me and my sister were supposed to just be there to make her look good.
And
And
what was your
when
well,
we
sorry,
ever had needs,
what were your opportunities to visit your dad?
um, I know my dad was also abusive and overbearing. I did meet him later when I was in my 20s,
No,
and he
sorry.
found out that I had some money in the
When he
bank,
divorced
and
when
he
you
held a
were
gun
sorry to
on me.
interrupt. Hello. When he divorced when you were
Yeah, he
7, did
divorced
you
my
have
mom
any
when I was
contact with
7.
him after that?
Not really. When I was in my 20s, I went ahead and I went to live with him for a couple of months, and he found out that I had money in my bank account, and he proceeded to basically hold a gun to my head and demand that money. So I
And how
mean,
did he hold a gun to your head?
he's a fucking piece of work. He's also an alcoholic. So I mean,
Oh,
I really never had any adults who were, worth 2 shits to the wind in my life. So it's like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to pattern myself after? Because they were all a bunch of, fucking, assholes, messed up. I mean, that they were insane. They were incredibly fucked up people. So it's like,
Yeah.
How the hell, was I supposed to, figure out how to become an adult when the examples that I had in my childhood were just a bunch of really fucked up people.
Right. Right. Okay. So I think the one ray of light that might come through these storm clouds is it's better to be you than your father. Right.
Yeah.
It's better
Obviously.
to have not dated than to have married someone like your mom.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, the paralysis that you have achieved is way better than some potential motion that you might have had, right?
Yeah.
So you have avoided some enormously catastrophic mistakes.
But I need to change the belief system that if, because it's like the reason I'm not doing anything with my life is because, I'm not going to have a woman in my life who loves me. So it's like I need to change that belief system. Because I'm damn near 40 and I feel like I've not accomplished a damn thing with my life. And it's incredibly painful.
No, I get that. Yeah, I mean, mortality, time ticking away, sand running out of the hourglass and all that, right? Plus, you don't want to be like the Anthony Quinn 77-year-old dad.
Yeah, I mean, even if I would write some books and leave behind some books or something that could teach others, at least then I would feel like my life had some meaning. But right now, it's just like, I mean, what's the fucking point?
Right. Right.
I mean, it's like, how do I change? How do I?
Okay, sorry, I get the question, so let's not keep repeating it. And I get the frustration, but sorry. I want to make sure. Now, you know that I can't give you any kind of answer, right? I mean, I can only give you some thoughts about it, which, just
no, I know.
Amateur
I know, that's
opinion.
what I'm asking for.
The first thing that I would do, I don't know if you've done any talk therapy at all.
I've done that. It's never really helped because it keeps putting me into a state of repetition in which I just keep reliving, re-experiencing, and just being depressed. So it's like I'm kind of tired of talking about it. I just want to fucking change.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm a big fan of talk therapy, but I'm not going to try and talk you to obviously into doing something that hasn't worked for you. But
yeah,
I would approach this like a project, right? Because I mean, obviously you've got trauma and history and so on, but you're 40 and you've been many decades out of childhood, and so you're nearly 40. And so I think that we need to approach this with the objectivity of a project. And so what I would do is, I'm a big, it sounds ridiculous, I know. I'm a big one for, get a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle and draw, make yourself a little Jesus cross of self-knowledge, line down the middle, one across the top.
Okay.
And on the left, I'd put what I have to offer. On the right, I would put what I want. And this means in a romantic relationship. Because look, if you don't think you have anything to offer, then anything you ask for is fraudulent. Right? Like if you go into a restaurant, order from the menu knowing you're not going to pay, you're kind of a thief, right? So if you're going into you want to have a relationship, but you don't think you have anything to offer, then everything you do is fraudulent and it's never going to work, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of
so on the left-hand side, put what I have to offer. Now, I'll tell you one thing you have to offer, which is that you're in your late 30s and you are unencumbered by previous marriages / children / alimony / divorce / crazy psycho ex or whatever it is, right? So the fact that you're in your late 30s and unencumbered, not so bad. When I first met my wife in my early 30s, mid-30s? Yeah, early 30s. The fact that I was single, had never been married, didn't have any kids, was kind of a significant plus. Because once you get into your 30s, particularly your late 30s, you're getting a lot of second go-rounders, with all the baggage and financial catastrophes and bitterness and potential future problems, right, that can involve, right? So the fact that, again, I know it may not sound like the world, but the fact that you're unencumbered is actually quite a plus. So I think that's, you obviously your verbal skills are excellent. Obviously, since you've been to therapy and you have a clear understanding of your history and a good understanding of its impact, you have self-knowledge. So you're unencumbered, you have self-knowledge. Since you had money in the bank in your 20s, I assume that you're not currently calling from a yogurt cup and string attached to a carrier pigeon on the street somewhere. So you have, some career stability, some financial stability. So you have self-knowledge, you have unencumberedness, you have financial security, you have, done self-work to get you to a clearer understanding of things. So, I mean, there's your verbal skills, a great communicator. I can hear in your voice that you are actually connected to your emotions, which is a particular plus in these kinds of environments. And this is me talking to you for like 15 minutes, right? This is the things that I can see just from the outside that you have to offer.
Yeah.
And you also have a great template of what not to do.
Yeah.
The templates, like, for me, life was actually pretty easy to make better. It's like, whatever my mom and dad did, if I simply do the opposite, I'm already going in the right direction. Templates that are negative, you can flip them around, right? Which is like, I now know all the things that I should never, ever do or even think of doing in my life, right?
Yeah. Well, so how do I stop using wanting to have a woman as a template for motivation? I mean, because I'm having.
Sorry. Just
I
can you
know
just
that
repeat
there's
it?
things that I can do in my life that are good, but I'm having trouble finding a motivation that will get me actually going instead of just being depressed about not having a girlfriend.
Well, look, you got to get your mom out of your future.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this decade's old, right? Can I tell you a phrase that helped me? Get thee behind me, bitch!
Yeah. Get thee behind me, bitch.
Get thee behind me, bitch. I got my future. You had your life, you made your mistakes, you screwed up everything you touched. I have my future. Get thee behind me, right? Our parents and our childhoods are in the past. The degree to which we attempt to put them as predictors or templates for the future is like driving at high speed while only looking in the rearview mirror. You're going to crash, of course, right?
Yeah.
Get the past behind you as much as you can. And that means getting angry and rejecting all of the things. But at some point, we all got to blast through the roof of our childhood bedrooms. And we all got to grab the future. And we put the stuff that is in the past rationally behind us. Get thee behind me, bitch, was very helpful. I think we got a name for the Sunday show. But it was very helpful to me because this stuff is all in the past. And all the stuff that was in the past when I was a child was defined by me by the screwed up environment that I was in. And by that, I mean Western culture. I don't just mean my particular shitty little apartment. And that stuff was all the stuff that was done unto me. That's the stuff that was all defined by crazy people. That was the past. It was involuntary for me. I could not change it. I could not escape. I could not get out. I was born into a prison like we all are. I just happen to have a shitty prison. I'm trying to provide a really happy prison for my daughter, but she's still a prisoner. She can't leave, right?
Yeah.
But you're not in that prison anymore, right? So focus on the future, which has to be something that you can determine and you can decide, that isn't going to just be being stuck in the revolving door of stuff that happened 25 years ago. You got to get out of that revolving door. And I mean, I've got books, and there's lots of books you read, Alice Miller, your Nathaniel Branden, your John Bradshaw, do the worksheets, whatever it is that helps you break out of that cycle. But the problem is when you're a kid in an abusive environment, you get used to being a dandelion in a high breeze, right? Cork on an ocean. You just buffeted around by whatever crazy shit is going on, whatever manic, mad intensity is going on. You're helpless, you're dependent, you just have to conform like water to a vessel, and you become passive, you lose your spine, and all of that stuff then follows you to an adulthood. But as an adult, you have to start recognizing that you have choices now that were impossible to you in the past, and you can start to define what it is that you're going to do with your life and who it is you're going to be based upon your choices, and getting that muscle exercised is really important. Second part of the page, what do I want? Note the specific virtues that you will need in a partner, right? So what are you going to need in a partner? Well, if your mom was highly materialistic, and I know that one too, then don't do that. My mom was physically beautiful, and I'm sure that had a huge impact on my father, choosing her from, hey, what's the craziest of these beautiful little bunch of peonies? I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So if physical beauty is a trap for crazy, then... Sorry?
Yeah, she loved to pretend that she was helpless. I mean, in public, she was very weak and submissive. But then, it's like you get home and she just, the raging bitch would come out. I mean, it was like she was two different people.
Okay, so you don't want someone who's two-faced, you don't want someone who's manipulative, you don't want someone who's overly materialistic or acquisitive, you don't want somebody, in my case, physical beauty was a huge warning flag for me because, it's a honey trap, right? Physical beauty is a way of getting somebody into your power, so you can generally do unpleasant things to them with lawyers. But so these things, you need integrity, you need rationality, and you also need somebody who's going to have sympathy for your history. Right? There's this horrible cold callousness that human beings have where they say, we're all the same and we all had pretty much the same backgrounds. And therefore, anybody who screwed up as an adult, I'm just better than them. We all got the same diet. So anyone who's short, well, too bad for them. Right. But the fact is that half the damn population is starved of affection and connectedness and closeness, and probably damn well higher than that. But everyone just loves to think that we're all equal, and therefore all the virtues I got from a happy home are my personal virtues, and all the screwed up stuff that people got from an abusive home is somehow their fault and flaw. And so you want to steer clear of people like the plague who are even in that ballpark of thinking. And so if somebody says, wow, like you're saying all the people in the acting class, what's wrong with this guy? He's not like other people. It's like they know exactly what's wrong with you, which is that you had an unbelievably abusive history. And this is something that you want to steer clear of people who don't have sympathy for what you went through, because they will just continue to do the work that your mom started.
Yeah. Yeah.
So virtue, integrity, financial independence, competence, a non-manipulative form of helplessness display and all that. Make a list of all the things that you are looking for in a woman, and then just start to train yourself to look for these things. There's you could read Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, the degree to which we know everything about a person in the first few seconds of hearing them and talking to them. Start to develop your instincts to find the right people. I've got a YouTube video called How to Meet a Nice Girl, which I had a chat with a guy who's now married. He was in your position, never gone on a date. He was in his, I think, mid-30s at the time, now happily married and so on. So you can check out that video. I think it's got some useful tips in it. But really start to attune yourself to how you feel in the presence of other people. When you grow up in an abusive household, all you do is focus on everyone else all the time. Like in the same way that if you are in shark-infested waters, you're not focusing on yourself. You're focusing on whether you're getting bitten, or where the sharks are, or where the ripples are. Oh my God, would something go past my leg? All you're doing is focusing on your environment when you grow up in a predatory situation. So you're not used to focusing on your own instincts, on your own thoughts, and having your own independent evaluations and judgments of people, because all you're doing is wrangling the crazy ghosts of other people attempting to enter through your eyeballs and fuck with your brain. So really start to focus on your experience of other people. Does this other person make me feel good? Do they seem to have empathy? Do they seem to care? Do they listen? Do they ask questions? Really focus on your experience of other people, and that will help you sift through all of the sand to get to the gold.
Yeah. No, that sounds like good advice. I mean, something that I should try. What would be some good principles as far as socializing with other people? Because I feel like I'm coming from such a different place than most people that it just I'm not it's like I'm speaking English and everybody else is speaking German, so it's like I'm trying to figure out how to socially communicate.
Okay, sorry. You have to not think that you're a different species, because it's not true.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because you say we're coming from such different places and so on. You are as human as they are, and you adapted to very different circumstances.
Yeah.
Right. So there is isolation is the key tool of the abuser, right? And so one of the ways that abusers continue to isolate even after we escape their grips is they try to make us feel like we're somehow inhuman or fundamentally different from other human beings. It's not true.
Yeah.
You are a perfectly human adaptation to a very difficult environment. You are exactly like other people. You just had, you put one water in a cup and you put another water in a still. Well, the water in a still has taken a whole different shape, but it's still water. It just adapts to its environment. You are as fundamentally human as everyone around you. You simply adapted to a different set of circumstances. So don't feel alien. Don't feel different. Don't feel like you're somehow a different species and so on. Just recognize that, hey, And understand that if you had switched places with someone else, they'd be pretty much like you, and you'd be pretty much like them. Luck of the draw, man. I'm sorry it came out snake eyes for you. I'm sorry you got such a terrible short straw. That doesn't make you a different species. You adapted to a different environment. You are not a different kind of human being. So you have a common humanity with everyone else. Now, other people probably have the vanity of assuming that, as I mentioned, all that their stuff is their own personal virtues and la-di-da. They were just so great. And boy, you just made all these mistakes. Well, steer clear of those people. I mean, they're a fucking plague on the planet, right? There's this cold lack of empathy where they actually step on the backs of abused children to give themselves a few extra inches of self-esteem height. How wretched and horrible and vicious is that? So stay away from those people. But you're not inhuman. You just adapted to a different set of circumstances, but you're fundamentally exactly the same as everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can get rid of that feeling of isolation and differentness and otherness, then you can actually have a relaxed conversation with people, knowing that, hey, I happen to be born in the snow, so I have some extra hair. There's nothing fundamentally different.
Yeah.
I just adapted to this. And then that also releases you from any self-attack that comes from adapting. You made it through. You made it through some of the craziest shit I've ever heard, and I've heard some pretty crazy shit in my years. But you made it through, and you are a functional human being. You get out of bed in the morning, you put your pants on, you go do something productive in society. You're frustrated and isolated. I totally get that. But holy shit, man, what an incredible accomplishment. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you are where you are speaks to an incredible strength of character that you have. All the abusers in society as a whole, they seem to work night and day to make us feel ashamed for having survived abuse. Holy shit. I mean, I swear to God, if 90% of the population had been through what I went through, they wouldn't be getting out of bed. It's a strength to be where you are based upon where, people might feel like it's a weakness. It's an incredible strength that you are where you are. The fact that nature happened to place us in an environment where, we had to carry 300 bricks on our back and climb shaky ladders while other people were running around and playing. Well, what did we get? Strong backs and strong legs and a great sense of balance. There's an incredible strength that comes out of surviving that stuff where you say, well, shit, nothing else is going to be that hard in my life. Nothing else is ever going to be that hard as my first 20 years. So I've got me some strong legs, strong back, and a great sense of balance. And other people are wobbly and shaky, and they don't have that same trial by fire. They didn't get toughened like steel in the furnace. And the strength that we have is incomprehensible to others, but as we recognize it ourselves, it reverses the shame spiral that was inflicted on us.
Yeah, it recalls to my mind something I read from one of Ayn Rand's books is, a person needs to feel that they're right for the world that they're in. And, that's what I need to focus on. I need to focus on how am I right for the world as it is now? Because I am. And I need to stop focusing on all the negativity and all the bullshit that happened in the past. I need to let that go and stop feeling like I'm somehow wrong,
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I do. The essential sense of wrongness is something that is very infectious, and it really is fundamentally the point of abuse. I mean, your mother used you like a piece of toilet paper for her own narcissistic needs, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's wretched, that's hideous, that is vampiric and parasitical, and it's a long time ago in the past, and you got to grab your future and define it for yourself according to principles rather than the inertia of a brutalized history.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I need to look
And again, I'm incredibly sorry for what happened, but I also hold hope that it has helped you to escape mistakes that more healthily raised people have made that are catastrophic and unrecoverable. You can recover from this and you can go and get married and have a happy life if you really work at it. Yeah. But man, if you had 2 kids by some lunatic and you were in and out of court for the next 20 years, that really wouldn't be so possible, right? So look at, you didn't catch love, but you also didn't catch a bullet. So it's 50-50.
Well,
right?
And I've listened to your, podcasts and shows for, a couple of years, and it's really helped me with a lot of stuff. And I mean, a while back, I donated $500 to you because, I really believe that, this philosophy, as you teach it, can change the world for the better. Because I've honestly, before I heard you, I had never really heard anybody speaking about these principles, philosophically. I never heard that. So I think that, you're going to be able to, change the world with your philosophy, but it's going to take, it may take 100 years. But then again, if people would treat their children better, it could take a generation.
Well, if it takes 100 years, then you really only donated $5 a year. No, I'm kidding. Listen, first of all, thank you very much for that donation. It's incredibly generous, and I hugely appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, speaking basic, honest truths, if the world had its way, you wouldn't be hearing me now. It's just that the internet has no way. The gatekeepers are gone, so we can actually have direct conversation. So, look, thank you so much. I wish you'd told me about the donation beforehand. Otherwise, I would have been much nicer to you. But I really appreciate you mentioning at the end. Thank you.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. And I'm very grateful for that. And for the people who do donate, it is. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. The fact that people have donated means that, I've got, I think, a pretty good technical setup now. I have Mike's here listening to the Sunday show. Wake up. No, Mike's here listening to the Sunday show. The fact that I get to work with one of my best friends and get to really drive this conversation out to new people. We just passed 16 million video views. That's probably more views than books in philosophy have been sold throughout the history of the planet. So I'm incredibly grateful to people like you, and of course to you directly, for making this possible. I would not be able to do this at all without that support. Like, it just wouldn't be possible. And so I hugely appreciate it. Every time I get to spend the day with my daughter, couple of times a day, I literally pinch myself and say, is this possible that I'm able to do this? And it's because of your kind of generosity that I'm able to do this. Hopefully I'm given the biofeedback of how the parenting is going, and that's an experiment that's valuable to everyone. So I'm trying to pay it back by sharing what's working with the parenting and challenges that I have with the parenting. So this is all because of that generosity that you bring to the table. So let me put down another thing in your plus side. A very noble sense of reciprocity and generosity. That is another thing that women would be very happy to be on the receiving end of. And now, let me ask you another question, which is there any, if you have a message board account, you don't have to give out your name or anything like that, but if you have a message board account, would you like to share it with people, perhaps of the fairer sex?
I actually shut down both my YouTube channels because I just got tired of the abuse from people. I'm going to try to focus on my acting and some other things that I'm working on in real life because, if I don't spend time creating my life right now, then I'm going to, then it's going to be another 20 years and then I'm going to really feel like shit.
Right. Okay. Well, let me put this offer out then, which is, ladies, are you looking for a man with great degree of self-knowledge and a deep and abiding wisdom about what not to do in relationships of any way, shape, or form? Are you looking for a man who can casually toss $500,000 at a bull-headed internet philosopher he's never met with that kind of money and resources? Are you looking for someone who's got destructive and abusive people out of his life? Are you looking for somebody who has worked on therapy, who has self-knowledge, who is financially stable, who is a great communicator? Well, then you send your email and all the nude pictures in your no nude pictures. You can send to operations@freedomainradio.com. Also, .com, did I say .com? Sorry. At operations@freedomainradio.com, or shake your FDR moneymaker at freedomainradio.com. And if you pass the test that Mike will have, the barrier that Mike has, then we will forward your email, should this fine gentleman send his email to Mike at operations@freedomainradio.com. We will try and connect you for at least a potential opening chat. So if you're interested in a wealthy, philosophically inclined, self-knowledgeable, untainted by other women's hands and the legal system that destroys men, you can email operations@freedomainradio.com. We will try to hook you up. Yes, I have come down to pimping for philosophy. It's been a proudest moment of my entire career. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and we will try to hook you up, brother.
Funny. Yeah.
Listen, I want to make sure. James, do we have another caller, or are we done for the day?
We do have somebody else.
It's been a really great honor to speak with you.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. And again, thank you for your kindness, and we'll see if we can pimp you up. Hook you up. Get you in contact with some wise philosophical Street bearers. All right.
Well, I think
are you young and fertile? Oh, sorry. Okay, so James, if we get the last caller up, thanks again so much.
Weekend.
You too, man. Thanks.
Bye.